In the last few decades, the bullet of contacting the other side has received a makeover. It's been dressed up with a new coat of paint called New Age. Ladies and gentlemen, the trendiest way to enter the spirit world, the near-death experience.
When my head hit the curb, boom, I was out of my body. Soul separated.
And I was being sucked into this brilliant tunnel of warm, loving light. I felt like
bathed in the light. It was an overwhelming sense of a cleansing.
I really was not in the hospital anymore. And I found myself way out in space.
I saw every single person that I had ever had any contact with.
Only my body was in the hospital room. I was off in the Garden of Eden in heaven.
Stories like these, called near-death experiences, or NDEs, have become cliche. Proponents of life after death cite these accounts as proof of whatever their particular myth believes. It's a powerful image, a tunnel of light that leads to the other side. But this tunnel is a dead end.
It's a wrap.
Near-death experiences are generated by brain function, and they don't prove that there's an afterlife. Barry Beierstein, psychology professor, Simon Fraser University. Neuroscientists are thoroughly convinced that near-death experiences are things that happen when normal brain function is disrupted and the brain is shutting down.
When blood flow is cut off, lack of oxygen sends the brain into a kind of final curtain dementia, a mind trip, courtesy Mother Nature.
These are complex hallucinations. They're taking place in the theater of one's own mind.
We're done, right? Well, not according to this woman. We were heading out for donuts.
I'm Jan Price, and I've been to the other side of death.
Jan Price is a big name in the world of near-death experiences and the best-selling author of
The Other Side of Death.
The Other Side? Thank you, Tiller. I'm all right now. Jan's NDE began when she had a heart attack and died.
Just like that. Suddenly, I'm above everything. And I'm looking down at my body and saying, gee, I'm not in there anymore. That must mean I'm dead.
And then they revived her, so I guess we blame the doctor for this dolt. Although her NDE story has a by now familiar ring to it, Jan's trip had one unique twist. Her husband says he witnessed it.
And I saw her come up out of her body. I also saw something else that I thought was too incredible to even speak about. I saw Maggie.
Maggie was their dead dog, and the Prices say Jan met up with her during her near-death experience. Not only that, Maggie's been reincarnated as their current dog. What are the chances of that? In reincarnation, aren't you supposed to attain a higher level? Poor Maggie apparently just can't seem to improve herself.
She's been with us in at least 3 bodies that we know of, and this is her most recent one.
Just can't seem to stop peeing on the sofa, huh, Maggie? Bad dog. By the way, John Price is a successful author on his own. Lots of stuff on angels and something about super beings. They're the Faith Hill and Tim McGraw of Whackville. And then there's this.
I am Raymond Moody, MD, PhD, and seeker of the truth. I got interested in near-death experiences in 1965, and so in the last 37 years, I have seen this go from something that was not known to something that is now almost part of the ethos of our society.
And he's the guy responsible. Raymond Moody is the grand poobah of near-death experiences. Sadly, he's never had one himself. His bestseller, Life After Life, coined the phrase NDE, made it a pop culture phenomenon, and guaranteed Moody an income for the rest of his life. So, what evidence does Moody have that proves near-death experiences are real?
To the people who go through this experience, it's absolutely convincing that they saw the afterlife. In their minds, that's what it was. There's no rational way that we can contradict what they're saying.
No rational way we can contradict what they're saying? How about we show it happening in controlled situations? How about where there's no chance of death? Is that rational enough? We're going to. We hate to seem like we don't trust every nut with a story, but there's medical evidence we can point to and dance while shouting taunting phrases at truth seekers like Raymond. Here we go. During centrifuge tests, when pilots are spun around in this contraption, getting their guts compacted at 9 Gs, their blood drains from their head to their lower extremities. As a result, many black out. Guess what they say happens when they're unconscious.
Oh, shoot, I forgot what I was doing. Man, I was dreaming and everything.
We inadvertently walked into this near-death experience arena while we were trying to protect combat fighter pilots.
I'm Dr. James E. Winery, Chief Aeromedical Scientist, Naval Air Warfare Center.
In the 1980s and 90s, Dr. Winery tortured over 1,200 pilots in the centrifuge. He kept close track of their reactions. When they came to, nearly 18% of them described, well, near-death experiences.
I was out, and what I pictured was again, very vivid in color of looking down at the ground from several thousand foot.
Loss of consciousness would occur in our pilots as we're doing acceleration experiments, and they frequently had gray out, tunnel vision, blackout, and dreams that were associated with that loss of consciousness episode.
3, 2, 1.
Curious, Dr. Winery put himself through the centrifuge test. In this footage, he also blacks out. And he often experienced his own NDE.
I've had maybe 20, 30 of them. The one I remember most was I was walking down a hall toward a doorway that was lit, but I was also up behind myself walking down the hall.
That's familiar. You know, it seems like a brain under severe stress from centrifuge testing or fighting for life at death's door goes from real trauma to peaceful fantasy.
That may well be part of how the brain handles that threatening situation.
So near-death experiences have a real-life explanation. Cut off the blood to the brain, and nearly 18% of us have an NDE. Kind of makes the thought of dying, or better yet, pulling 9 Gs, well, kind of exciting. What does the guru of near-death experiences have to say now? Watch Dr. Moody try to slip out of this one.
In a field like the paranormal, where the problems are conceptual and not yet scientific, you make a tremendous mistake in deciding that you're going to be either a believer or a disbeliever. And really, the believers and the disbelievers, in my opinion, are the same group.
No, they're not! The believers are either people who have had confusing experiences or folks out to make a buck. The disbelievers are scientists or professors, like this man.
Every night, I talk to dead people and I fly through space, and I call it dreaming. Christoph Koch, professor of cognitive and behavioral biology at Caltech. And in dreams every night, we all go to sleep, and very often I will meet and talk with people who are dead. I will fly through space. I will do things that I could never do in real life. Near-death experience is just another form of very vivid dreams. The number of people who have near-death experience is going up dramatically as medical technology will get better. In fact, I predict that over the next 20 years we'll have more people who have these experiences because we're getting better at pulling people back from the brink of death.
And what about those compelling stories we heard earlier? What do those people think of the scientific explanation?
First off, I don't get angry, because I would have been a skeptic before it happened to me also.
I understand people not believing me because it hasn't happened to them.
We welcome people who are skeptical and people who just seek information.
And it's okay for the other people to be skeptical. It's all right for them. In their own time, they may learn what we know.
All I can tell you is about my personal experiences, because I'm not a scientist, I'm a hairdresser. I can make you look good, but I don't know how to give you answers.
Okay, whatever these folks believe happened to them, at least they're not out for a buck. That's more than we can say for some other people.
I'm Jan Price, and I've been to the other side of death.
We are our brains. They are us. So when we are our brains. They are us. So when happened, no matter how real the experience, is the jump that great from dreams to NDEs? Why wouldn't our brains freak out a little when injured or dying? Why is that so hard to understand for these people? It's that ugly bastard death. The idea that there's something else, even if it's only a little light, will make you feel a little better while your brain loses blood, but it takes away the beauty of life. We die. It's as easy as that. So let's make the best of what we got while we got it. Have a blast and help others have a blast. Behave with honesty and directness. You, me, us, Maggie the dog. None of us gets a second chance to not pee on the sofa. So yeah, that's our message.